This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We're kicking off week 3 of the NFL season tonight in Buffalo as we welcome you into Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network. Sirius XM channel 158, Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Got 4 MLB games in action right now as well. Tigers up 1-0 on the Guardians. We're tied at 1 in Padres Mets. Mets trying to blow this thing, by the way, just in general as it pertains to their season. Rays up 3-0 over the Blue Jays, and the A's with a 3-1 lead already here early just in the first inning. A lot of baseball, which is a couple weeks left before we get to October baseball. Going to be fun. How are you, JVT?
I'm good. And yes, I think start of note, the consequence of note, of course, is going to be keeping an eye on Tarik Skubal and how he's performing so far. I think he's already hit triple digits, at least at one point today, so that's good. 3 innings, 1 walk, 4 Ks, looking like Tarik Skubal. So we will see if maybe the injury limits him in any way, shape, or form. But that is very important outside of the Mets. But I'm doing very well. I'd also say that I was laughing as they showed us for the first time because we had to do something off the air before the show started, and it looked like we're here for like some sort of school picture day. I think this is the best we have been collectively dressed in a single show in one day.
The hair is washed. You got a fresh cut yesterday. We're both wearing suit jackets. Yes, this does not happen often for us.
Actually, I got a fresh cut hours ago, so this is
today?
This is hot off the presses.
Wow, look at you this morning. See, I thought you were going to say you were so happy because your child, I hear, is with you on your anti-New York bias. Is that true?
Proud moment as a father. Maybe the proudest I've ever had, although he did smack a really nice line drive and almost took his coach's head off yesterday, which was also very good. But there was no, come on now, coach pitch. What are we doing? A little too old for that. There was a bottle of vitamin water out of the park, and I just hear him go, "Man, we don't like vitamin water. We don't support New York." And I was like, oh,
what?
I was like, heck yeah, dude.
That is definitely your child.
That's true. But then he asked me if it was a different country, and I was like, all right, we got to work on some stuff here. But
I do love how you keep poking the East Coast bear.
Oh, it's great.
We do love our West Coast bias segment, by the way. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday moving forward. It's good stuff.
For the soft-skinned New Yorkers who are getting angry, it's a bit relaxed.
Yes.
I've been out there. I've had a great time, as I always say. One of the more impactful moments of my life was going and visiting the 9/11 Memorial Museum. It was a very, very wonderful experience. But some of you suck.
And then you'll just leave it at that. See, I don't know why you have to put a period on it like that. On that note, we got a lot to get to over the course of the next 2 hours. Let's set the table like we always do. Producer Brian Ortega, let's run it down.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is The Rundown.
Excited coming up in hour 2. Jeff Erickson's going to join us of RotoWire, get into all of the different prop betting angles ahead of week 3 in the NFL as well as tonight.
Yep, looking forward to it. I really liked a lot of our fantasy guests that we have had. Jeff obviously included among them, and tying that into some of the betting props and angles that we have. Obviously, the guru, Hansen, does a really good job in tying in the fantasy thoughts into what the betting market is. So this has been a good addition, I think, to our show. And always look forward to talking to guys like Jeff, including some key injuries on defense that might impact some of the offensive performance.
Yep, we've got lots of college football, lots of NFL on deck today. And today we're actually going to test out a new segment based on a phrase that you use a lot. Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah.
On a handful of different sides that we like or maybe don't like.
It's exactly what I said to my son yesterday. I will say, usually because you tend to be a little, you don't like confrontation.
I don't.
So I tend
really
to not try to be confrontational. So I was surprised in looking at the list that we are oppo on a couple of things here. And I'm very much looking forward to absolutely destroying you in every single one of these arguments.
You scare me sometimes, so I'm going to do my best. We'll see how it goes. But
I think I'm just more confident, just blindly confident.
Let's get into a little Thursday night football here to start. And listen, we're going to hit this game numerous times throughout the day. We've got an AFC East clash between the 2-0 Bills and 0-2 Dolphins. Buffalo laying anywhere between 11.5 and 12.5 points, depending on the book. So shop around if you feel comfortable laying it, get the better number. If you want to take the points, get the better number. Total here, 49.5. I do see some 50s popping as well. Let's hit the injury report before we get into our thoughts on the game. Buffalo, both Ed Oliver and Matt Milano are out. Their corner, Teron Johnson, did say yesterday he's ready to go, but is questionable. Shaq Thompson dealing with a hamstring, is questionable. Trey White suited up last week, but didn't play a full complement of snaps, so things to keep an eye on there. As for the Miami Dolphins, 2 starters out in that secondary, a group that you and I have already talked about a lot as being among the worst in the National Football League. So no Storm Duck at corner, and their starting safety, Efatu Melifonwu, is out as well. Did get their backup, Ethan Bonner, back. Elsewhere, Chop Robinson, one of their top pass rushers, and defensive tackle Benito Jones are both questionable.
Yep, you hit them all. And here's the thing. It would be, even for, 12.5-point spread, I mean, I think you make the argument minus 850 is a little cheap on the money line just because I think it would be absolutely stunning if the Buffalo Bills were to drop this game to Miami.
Yeah.
Everything that you mentioned, defensively for Miami, dead last through 2 weeks in EPA per play. The gap between them and the 31st ranked team, the Dallas Cowboys, is equivalent to that of Dallas and the 22nd ranked Houston Texans. They've been awful on that end, and now a terrible defense with bodies missing in that secondary and an edge rushing group which has really lacked the pop, the verve, the sizzle, if you will, that a lot of people expected them to have coming in. Now, one of those guys, the young Chop Robinson, a little dinged up. It just doesn't really look good for Miami. And that doesn't even count for all the vibe stuff, right? Like, these guys just might not like each other. Nobody might like anybody in that roster and in that locker room. And now you got to go to Buffalo, which has been, granted, I think more of those, you had the stat when we talked about this yesterday, the average margin of victory when they go to Buffalo. Do you have it?
Last 8 meetings at Orchard Park, Buffalo's won all 8 by an average of 15.3 points per game, scoring upwards of 36 points per game in said matchups.
Yeah, and like I pointed out, a lot of those are late, cold weather games. Maybe the Dolphins and Tua don't play particularly well there, but either way, you haven't played well in this building. I would be absolutely stunned if Buffalo weren't able to come out here, maybe strong first half, do what they need to do, and similar to the Jets. Yeah. We'll talk about some of the passing attempts and props a little bit later, but of his passing attempts last week, Josh Allen, I think 16 or 17 of them came in the first half. He only had 8 or 9 in the second. One of those. Come in, beat the crap out of him in the first half, get out and get into a long bye week.
Yeah, and I placed the bet earlier this week, Buffalo minus 3.5 in the first quarter, just the way that they have started games and the way that Miami, quite frankly, has started games as well. Slow, even last week when they had a very back and forth game against the New England Patriots. They were still down 12-0 after the first quarter in that spot. To go back to the secondary, they made, and no shade to Daniel Jones at the start he's had, but they made Daniel Jones and Drake May look like world beaters these first couple weeks, 75% completions for both of them. May specifically last week, 83% completions. You go from those two guys to the reigning MVP in Josh Allen, who he didn't have to throw the ball a lot last week, but if he wants to, he can. He can do whatever he wants on the ground. Hell, Tua Tagovailoa is even out here on the podium saying, I can't do half the stuff that guy can do.
I don't really like that comparison, considering the Daniel Jones did the same thing to the alleged best defense in the NFL the week after in the Denver Broncos.
Let's keep that alleged word going, though, aren't you?
Neither here nor there. No, I would agree. I think, to me, flipping that is going to be the interesting part. I have a very solid expectation about what this is going to look like for Miami's defense, and that I think they're going to be up against it. I think they're going to be giving up a lot of points. It's going to be hard for them to generate a stop, much like it was very hard for the Jets to do last week in that first half. I think the interesting aspect is going to be, can Tua in this Dolphins offense, look, this Bills secondary and defense as a whole is getting tested with its depth. They're very beat up already at the beginning portion of the year. I'm going to be curious to see if they can do their part to push this game over the total, if that's really going to help out, if they're going to be able to make this interesting and stay inside of a big number. If you're saying, all right, lay it or take it, I guess I'd lean a little bit toward take it, 12.5, but it's like it's the most key number in the world. And what if Buffalo gets the ball first, goes right down, scores a touchdown, and all of a sudden you're working with something a little bit bigger you can come back in on with Miami?
Fair. I am on the Buffalo Bills team total over 30.5 as well in this spot. I feel like they're going to be able to score at will against this defense. Offensively, though, to your point, I am curious what they might be able to do, especially with some weaknesses on the injury report for Buffalo. But I'm more targeting props for that. I wouldn't hate on anybody if for you this is because it's such a big spread of Miami or pass type of a game. I just can't get there. I think there are better angles within the game to approach it from. I mean, that's why we pressed the button. We pressed submit right before we came on air on the Buffalo Bills for our Survivor entry today. So we are very firm on that side of things.
Let the record show.
I pressed the button.
I was going to say, we did not simultaneously press the button together.
It was a teamwork button press, though, because you set it up.
I set it up.
You logged it up. You pressed Buffalo, and then I pressed submit. out.
Yes.
So it was a team effort
So
there.
I turned the key. You hit the big red button.
Yes, and then I'm debating what to do on the other two entries that my father and I have some together too. We're definitely going to have Buffalo on one, but do we do Seattle on the other? We'll have to make that decision later on today, unless we want to go all in on Buffalo and then kind of see how that goes. That said, we'll talk more about this game a little bit later. I want to shift gears here to some other quarterback news that we got and gauge your opinion on it. The San Francisco 49ers hosting the Arizona Cardinals this weekend, and Brock Purdy, I guess, now has a chance to return. It was a very different tune from Kyle Shanahan at the podium, where last week he said Purdy was a long shot. Early in the week, he obviously didn't start. We get the reports afterwards that it's a 2 to 5 week toe injury for him. And then on the podium yesterday, he talked about how he wasn't limited and that he does have a chance to play.
This is pretty big, and I mean, look, if he's going to be healthy, I always get into this, and I can't remember who I was talking about this. I think it was Samich, actually, a couple of weeks ago. It was one of the days you weren't here. But regardless, it was over the summer. We were talking about the premise of, like, looking at these guys when they come back from injury and saying, do we assume they're not going to be fully healthy, or do we assume because they're out there, just grade them as you grade them? And I think that's what you roll with. And I bring that up because if you get Purdy out there, which I think is a better option than Mac Jones, I don't think it's the difference that the market thought last week, which we clearly saw they covered that number. But I am going to be more curious about Arizona. Earlier today, I found this great little stat from your guy, Ian Hartitz, when he had like this great graph about, hey, explosive play rate and success rate and putting them together. Where do teams fall? Arizona's been bad through 2 weeks offensively. And they took on the Saints and they took on the Panthers. I don't think this is a great matchup for Arizona at all. And for this to still be just floating around 3, where we're saying, maybe 1.5 difference between the two, seems pretty light, especially if this 49ers team's going to be healthier.
See, dang, I'm sad you gave this opinion because we're doing Hell Yeah, Brother next. And 49ers, I bet San Francisco -2.5. There are still some of those available in the market.
Oh, whoa.
We're going to 3. So that was going to be one that I argue. But if you already agree with me, then that's cross it off the list.
There's one where you're, again, absolutely ridiculous about.
I just can't let go. It's that simple. Okay, we got to take our first time out of the day.
It is, yeah.
I already know. Instantly. But we're going to have some fun coming up next. Hell yeah, brother. Do we like these sides? Can we agree? Do we disagree? I feel like there's going to be a little dissension next. Stay with us on Money Moves.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Do you agree?
Hell yeah, brother.
Or do you disagree?
That's a no for me, dog.
It's time to see where we land in Hell Yeah, Brother.
All right, time for Hell Yeah, brother. R.I.P. Hulk Hogan. But this is like one of your favorite phrases, so...
You're already backing down. Like, this was the whole point. You're already, like, this first one
scaring me.
This is your opinion. Defend it. Stand by it.
Okay, just get started. Go. Do your
This is yours. This is yours.
No, this is we talked about this beforehand. This graphic is messed up. You guys are messed up human beings because this was for you.
Stormy likes the
you
Steelers
said
money
you've
line.
already bet the Patriots.
Yeah, Steelers money line -125. It's going to be a no for me, dog. The Patriots, one of the first bets that I made this week. I've got them on a teaser as well. We'll see if this actually happens. I sent you, which you did not look at, and there's a reason why I sent it to you. I sent it to the group chat with the text. Look at the bottom 4 quarterbacks. Leading the way, if you're looking at an adjusted EPA per play leaderboard, adjusted for pass protection, receiver drops, dropped interceptions, fumble recoveries, everything that you need. The 31st ranked quarterback out of 34 in the NFL, Aaron Rodgers. He hasn't been good through 2 games. And a lot of the people who kept pointing to the 4 touchdown performance and getting all mad at PFF, you got to get your brains reevaluated here. He did nothing. Again, I will reiterate, 177 yards after catch in that game. The Seahawks absolutely caved their skulls in last week. He was awful again. I don't know if this is going to continue, but if you're talking about a team that has been overvalued through the first 2 weeks of the NFL season, failing to cover both spreads, losing to the Seattle Seahawks, now having to take on a Patriots team that might have some upside here, no shot. Should they be favored? Let's go. Patriots are the way to go.
Couple things. I think, for one, Aaron Rodgers needs some help. We talked about this earlier this week. I don't think this is a situation where you bring in Aaron Rodgers and expect him to have to be a world beater and do everything he can do. They need to be able to establish the run a little bit. No, to help him out. Come on. Am I wrong?
Here we go.
Anyways, back to my point. I like Rodgers and I like Tomlin in a bounce back spot after a performance where they were embarrassed. And listen, the Steelers defense has been a problem. That is no secret. But I do think something that's important to note coming out of last week, while they lost 31-17, the defense only gave up 24. They picked off Sam Darnold twice, sacked him a couple times. TJ Watt doesn't have a sack yet. He's going to get in there as well. And this is a Patriots team that, yes, looks good and looked hot last week against the Miami Dolphins, who we have already talked about off the start of the show as being absolutely awful and dinged up and injured.
Sure.
So I think I'm not saying with my full chest out that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to dominate the Patriots this week, but no, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they win this game.
So Sam Darnold, of the 2 interceptions, he was charged with 1 in terms of a turnover-worthy play. The quality of the interceptions.
How about Rodgers' interception in the end zone that gets tipped up and bobbled by 80 people? That could have been another. But I'm just saying that could have been another score, and this game is a different.
Yeah. And how did they get down to the red zone for that possession, by the way? It was a massive explosive play, which they were not having at all through the entire game. Before getting into the red zone, they had 60 total yards at that point.
So more of that.
Stop. They're terrible. By the way,
I think that this game is essentially a pick'em game. It is a toss-up coin flip game for a reason. I like you using the Patriots as a teaser leg. I think this is a close one decided by a field goal one way or the other as the line.
No, it's not one way or the other. Come on now. Stick to your guns. I'm telling you, you're flat out wrong. They're going to lose the game. I smell a third show bet, but you're in the hole by 2 so far.
If I'm doing a third show bet, I'm not doing it on this bleep show of a game.
All right, I think we're up against it on here. Vikings -3 at home against the Cincinnati Bengals.
I'm not sold on that either.
Don't be so timid.
I'm just not.
That's a no for me, dog. That's the whole point of this.
So there's the report from Peter Schrager that came out that's a no for me, dog.
Thank you. Right.
There's a report that came out this morning from Peter Schrager talking about how high Minnesota is on Carson Wentz and that he's been awesome the last couple weeks. Internally, they feel so good about him. And especially with how J.J. McCarthy has performed through 7 of 8 quarters. Is this even a downgrade? Probably not. Like all this stuff. He's an experienced veteran quarterback. I get it. But I also look at what Jake Browning has done for the Bengals in the past. And despite the 3 interception performance last week, he still came back to win them the game. He's got some, because of the times that he's had to fill in with Joe Burrow in the past, he has meaningful reps and has had a good connection with the stars on that offense. I feel like this is another close game, and if you're giving me the full field goal with the Cincinnati Bengals, I think I might take it.
Again, not strong enough. You got to be strong. You were getting a little fired up in the last one, but you got to get more fired up.
You needle.
I'm really good at I'm good at this. What do we say? Minnesota Vikings. I keep printing it like this. Look, first off, we'll start with the quarterbacks. I will direct you back to the chart that I had sent to you. The second worst quarterback among 34 qualified passers through 2 weeks, J.J. McCarthy. And I'm just not buying this difference that the market is trying to sell me, where this was sitting at, 4.5? When the news came down, was it 5 in some spots that Carson Wentz was going to start? You cannot realistically tell me that the difference between Carson Wentz and what is currently the second worst quarterback in the NFL, ahead of Bo Nix, by the way, is this big. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I think Carson Wentz, you talk about meaningful reps, Carson Wentz has had quite a few in the NFL. He knows what he's doing. O'Connell knows what he's doing with these play calls. And defensively, by some metrics, this is the 7th, 8th, 9th best defense. We know what Flores can do against a quarterback like Browning, who has a penchant for putting the ball in danger. I like this Vikings team. I like them in this spot here with Carson Wentz. I'll take the discount. And it's kind of a theme for me, too. I will be fair. I mean, we talked about it last week, right? Trying to find the market overreacting to certain news. We did it successfully last week at the Brock Purdy, Mac Jones thing against New Orleans. And I think the difference is the same here. I don't think it's like that. So let's go. I think the gap's bigger between these two teams.
Okay, I'm hoping one we can actually agree on here. I mentioned it earlier this week, but I am very high on the Miami Dolphins. I mean, sorry, not the
Freudian slip. What are we doing?
On the Miami Hurricanes.
Play that back when they beat the Bills and we lose our survivor.
Miami Hurricanes. Good Lord, don't put that evil on me. The Miami Hurricanes laying 7.5 this week at home against Florida. I don't know if DJ Lagway's still hurt or maybe it's just rep-related because he missed so much time in the offseason and in fall camp. He does not seem to have a good connection with his guys. I don't think he's got a lot of confidence after the 5-pick performance last week. They're not running the football for him either. Florida ranks 90th in rush yards per game, and that's with them still going for 200 against their FCS Long Island opponent. Miami, meanwhile, first 6 possessions last week, 4 end zone trips. They're backing it up on both sides of the ball. They're so good in the trenches. I just find it so hard to believe that Florida's going to be able to keep this game close.
Yeah, I'll go hell yeah, brother. I added Miami to the portfolio to win the national championship this week. I talked about it on Pod to the Future, wherever you get your pods, Pod to the Futures, with Mitch Moss, where I'm buying in what Miami's selling. The lines of scrimmage are really strong, especially that offensive line, and they're going to be able to keep Beck upright. Beck's been great. He's completed over 82% of his passes the last 2 weeks.
Top completion percentage in college football.
Yeah, it's been great so far in totality, like you're referencing 79%. So I'm in. He's kept the turnover worthy plays down. That was something that was a bugaboo for him last year. And I am trusting that this Miami team, they did it the right way last week in that, hey, this might be a slippery spot. You get USF coming in. They bowed up, took care of business, and now here you have an in-state rival reeling in a very big game for you. What are you going to do? And I think they're going to show up here in a pretty big way, be able to kind of, if you will, put the foot to the throat of a Florida team that might be on the verge of flatlining.
Yeah, you mentioned the rivalry. This is a recruiting game. Mario Cristobal, say what you want about him in some moments as a head coach, but he's the ultimate recruiter, and in a spot like this, it's going to be huge for him. So I'm glad we got a hell yeah, brother. I needed one.
Yep. Do I have one next? I mean, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here because I may or may not have prepared properly for this. I'll fully admit. Okay,
Jets?
Let's go Jets. I think we're going to agree on this one. Jets, Bucks. The more we look at this Buccaneers injury situation, the more I'm feeling the Jets can stay inside 7. We should probably consider them for the millions.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
And this is for somebody that really likes Tampa, as do you. Hell yeah, brother. See, okay, just like you don't know how to do Why Not Wednesday, I'm struggling with this segment. It's our first time executing it.
If we're taking business forward, we should have like a nice little
The sounder?
Yeah.
Let's work on a sounder, guys, next, because we haven't asked them to do enough things to build out our show. But
please update my graphic.
Hell yeah, brother. I am with you here, especially we know that Justin Fields is going to be unavailable for the Jets this week, but I don't think that Tyrod Taylor is a significant drop-off, especially from what we saw last week where Justin Fields really struggled even to complete a pass. And I don't know. I think the Bucs injury situation is significant. We don't know who or what they're going to get back. We'll have a clearer frame of that for this week. But, I mean, with Kancey and all of the other things that are going on with Tampa, I think this is definitely within a touchdown.
One piece of we should get to this as well up on social media. Chris Vasily checks in, says that an interesting counterpoint to the Bengals is that the Bengals know what Jake Browning has to offer. They've been in the spot. They may be able to put together a winning game plan that suits his strengths. Carson Wentz is still Carson Wentz. One more form of business on the air. Chris Vasily is not allowed on the show anymore. So let's make sure that's...
Why? What happened?
Because he agreed with you.
All the more reason. Let's get this guy dialed up. Chris, we're ready for you next week. Come hang. One more I wanted to throw at you because I think this is kind of silly, especially for me after they did me so dirty last week. Oregon State plus 35.5 at Oregon.
That, dude. Hell no. That's a no for me, dog. I'm sorry.
I'm just thinking
I didn't fight you on it last week because I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then I watched that first quarter.
No, they're terrible.
What do you see in this?
They're real bad at football. But Oregon has Penn State next week. You got Trent Bray fighting for his life out here on the podium with people asking him if he even likes being a head coach. Could this be the time?
That's a buy sign. When the coach is being asked, do you even like it anymore?
The players love him, though, and so I wonder if maybe this is a spot. No? All right, words hurt. We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, and as the official horse racing partner of VSiN, remember everybody, First Bet is built for bettors who demand more. First Bet isn't just about placing a bet, but it's about helping bettors of all levels with proprietary AI handicapping tools that provide in-depth, data-driven insights to help you make more informed bets. First Bet's in-app tools give you win, place, and show probabilities for each runner so you can quickly and easily identify good value plays and improve your ROI. And right now, you can take advantage of their limited-time $250 sign-up offer. All you need to do to claim your bonus, use the promo code VSIN250, VSIN250 when you sign up in the First Bet app or at firstbet.com. It's the number one, stbet.com, promo code VSIN250.
Can I, Jesus, take the wheel this for 2 seconds?
I'll allow it.
So there's two things that I think we should note really quickly. The one that's not that important because you weren't that in on it. I told you it was Fat Bear Week and that you can vote on like the fattest bear I think it's in San Antonio or something like that, some bear habitat. Absolutely great. It's a normal thing. It happens every year. The other, though, that is more important about today, that Matt Youmans and...
National Cheeseburger Day.
Yeah. So did you see all the deals, though?
No.
So McDonald's has 50-cent double cheeseburgers. There's a litany of buy one, get ones, free burgers, things like that. So make sure you check it out.
As soon as you said Matt Youmans, I knew it was national.
Yeah.
I knew it was about that because I want to give a quick shout out to VSiN's own Will Hill. His daughter Mackenzie had her TV debut today over at school doing like the morning announcements. And she did sports, so shout out Mackenzie for the sports segment. You nailed it, sister. But they led this thing the day off by saying Happy National Cheeseburger Day. I immediately told my husband Chris, my task on the way home is to stop at In-N-Out and get us some burgers for the evening. Ready to go.
I don't know if they have the special, though, like some of these others.
Well, they've always got a special, though, right? Their prices stay consistent.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Consistent and low.
I know that they're a very overrated
Unlike McDonald's
cheeseburger.
trying to, they're not inflating their burgers, but they are inflating their prices.
There you go.
And that hurts. I love you, Mickey D's, but don't you do this to me. One last follow-up to Hell Yeah, Brother last segment, because we were talking more about this Oregon State-Oregon game. I know you think I'm crazy, and that's fine. I probably am, and I'm not putting this as a best bet by any means, but I wanted to talk it out a little bit because when Oregon last week laying 28 was the most bet side of the entire weekend and they don't cover against Northwestern, they've got this big game in Happy Valley coming up the next week. It is a rivalry game. No matter how many times Oregon wins it, Oregon State, they put up a fight. This game matters to them. 35.5 is a huge spread. Is there any world with which this can I know Oregon State is bad. I saw it in real life. I saw it straight up close and personal week one, and it's only gotten worse. But is there a world in which this is possible?
I would say the only world in which it's possible is that red dwarf that we call the sun finally just erupts and takes us all into the sweet oblivion, and we don't even play the game.
You're the worst. Okay, on that note, we got Circa Million lines officially coming out in the last hour or so. JVT and I have our own contest entry together. For anyone who's not involved maybe in Circa Million specifically, but you are in a pick'em contest, you got to pick these 5 games against the spread each and every week. We are doing that exercise here, and what can be beneficial or cause problems come Sunday is stale lines here. And whatever we pick, Thursdays are the most important days for injury reports, so hopefully we'll get a good framework of what we want to roll with. But some of these numbers are interesting, and they give you a little bit of an indication as to where Circa specifically thinks the number is going to go come Sunday. For their Thursday night game, we talked about how this number is all over the place between 11.5 and 12.5. They're firm on the 11.5 in the contest.
Yeah, I don't think it's really crazy. It's a pretty soft number space.
Sure.
Actually, we can invoke our conversation with Derek Stevens on Saturday. If you remember, he had brought up how hard or how much it took to move off of a number like 3, and then I asked him, I followed up with, well, Baltimore and Cleveland is like 11.5, 12. You guys just moved. How much does it take to move that number? And he said, not that much.
Okay.
So, there's not that big of a difference between this number if you wanted to use it. I think there's a couple that stick out to me. I think you and I are on the same wavelength here. 49ers minus 2.5 is the number that's available for you in the contest.
Are we writing that one down?
I think so. I think that's one we should probably write down and use. I don't know if you should use this, but you are getting the full 7 with the Saints. There was a 7.5 most of the week, but some of the hooks started to disappear, so that's something that's at least worth noting. You're getting 3.5 with the Rams. I only note that because while there's a bunch of 3.5s out there, a lot of the 3.5s with the Rams are starting to get juiced to the dog side, so we might get one of those like 3 minus 120s on the dog side, 3.5, whatever it is. With that one, that is worth mentioning at that point. And
Packers Browns at 7.5.
Yep, Packers Browns at 7.5, and then the Vikings on that 3, which I don't think that's surprising. I don't think that was going to get back under to 2.5, which that was the number briefly while you and I were on the air when the news came down. But that wasn't anything else. So
one other one, Colts Titans, that's at 4. And it's interesting in the market right now, you can get anywhere between 3.5 and 4.5, and maybe because it's off of the 3 anyways, similar to what you're saying, dead-er number, but sitting at 4 for that game as well.
Man, so that's, I think you and I generally do, like we have our pitches on sides that we like. That's one that, like, I've bet the Titans, and that's one I would think about pitching to you.
Okay.
I will go back to last week.
That surprises me.
Well, because to me, it's you know me. I'm big on these kind of buy low, sell high. Where the market's at. Tomorrow's Friday. You won't be here, but we'll still do our market power ratings.
I'll be here for 15 minutes.
I'm just saying you won't be. You'll be here for a segment. That's true. But I'll just say, like, when we're going to do our market power ratings again, I have a sneaking suspicion, and I think I can gauge it by what we're looking at right now. Remember, the Rams were laying 5.5 in Tennessee last week. Now here are the Colts laying 4, and in some spots 4.5. If I told you at the beginning of the year, hey, on a neutral, you're only laying 1 with the Rams against the Colts, what would you have done? You would have scoffed.
Yeah.
You would have been like, what? There's no shot.
how is that possible?
How is that possible? We're almost there at that point right now. This has clearly been an upgrade for Indy. The good news for them is obviously Josh Downs and Tyler Warren, who didn't participate in practice yesterday, are back today. But the whole premise here just being, look, we're at a strong point right now where this Indy power rating, you can make an argument, is at the top of the market. And Tennessee, who hasn't really looked good, want to double-check the offensive line to see if the injuries there are going to clear up, because I think that's going to be the case. But the Colts are beat up in the secondary. And think about what Cam Ward has had to face up to this point. Two of the better defenses in the NFL, again, allegedly, in the Broncos and the Rams. Now, all of a sudden, you get a thin secondary coming to your building, their first road game of the season, in a divisional matchup. I just think all of those things, you make a pretty strong case to take Tennessee for what it's worth.
Okay, so we'll put that on the maybe side for now. If we keep going with the yeses, we both agree on the Jets. It's 6.5 though instead of 7. Does that impact your opinion?
I think a little bit. The question is just, is there going to be a sixth line that we like that we would then put in favor of, like, hey, we're not getting 7, so let's put it there.
Okay, so I'll put Titans and Jets in the maybe.
Maybe, yeah, correct.
Okay.
I think we're both in agreement on the Panthers.
Yes.
Yep, Panthers plus 5.5 against the Falcons. Secondary issues there, too. So we've got 2 that we agree on. Can I convince you on the Vikings? I've made my pitch for the Titans.
I don't know. I think Chris Vaselli's got a good head on his shoulders about the Bengals. So.
I think we might be too head-to-head on that one to agree on a side to eventually use that. So is there a pitch that you want to make? I like the Rams. I don't know if you like that.
That was the one that I was looking at just now, is the Rams plus 3.5, since you are getting that hook. I know it's in Philly, but has Philly looked that dominant to you? I'm not so sure, and I think that the Rams have looked good, and Matthew Stafford hasn't looked impacted from the back like we thought he might.
Yep, I would agree with all those points.
Okay.
I like this Rams team. I like him catching 3.5 there in that spot.
So 49ers, Panthers, Rams. We need 2 more.
So we need 2 more. So we'll have to decide on what you want to do with some of these other opportunities that are in front of us.
Cowboys at Chicago.
I want to bet the Chicago Bears. I'm not going to do it. I can't do it.
Can you try to even pitch me why?
Well, again, I'm going back to, this is my stubbornness of their offense should be better. I think if you go back to last week, the very key moment where you and I were watching it there, I think they were down 21-7. They're at about midfield or so, and they run those stupid quarterback sneaks that don't get them there, and then the game blows up from there. I think they had a better offensive opportunity in front of them. But again, I think this is just me being stubborn. I don't want to do it with Chicago. And defensively, they looked pretty poor.
Yeah,
and so I can't really do
see
it.
I think that.
Okay, I'm sorry. And just the other point is, Russell Wilson was chucking moonballs all over the place and killing this Cowboys defense. Would it be a shock if Caleb Williams and these guys finally found some semblance of their offense here? I don't think it'd be crazy, but I don't feel strong enough to do it.
We've seen some over money in that game, and I think rightfully so.
Right. Yeah. Would you be shocked if it was a repeat of last week?
Sure. No.
Where the Cowboys are barely getting by, and it's just a shootout, and we're watching it going, what the hell is going on here?
Raiders, Commanders.
You know me. I like the Commanders. I think that this is a very...
I think I'm good with that.
Yeah, this is a very good situational spot for Washington. Coming off of the long week, you played last Thursday. Now you get an opponent coming off of Monday night. I know that we mentioned, I think the stat was 25-11, whatever Pete Carroll is, going from west to east, but he's had some pretty damn good teams that might probably play into the reason why he's so good making that trip. The Raiders' offensive line is not good. They can't run the ball. Geno outdoors, if you really want to use that as a cherry on top. But I think situationally, it's hard to pass up Washington taking on a team coming off a Monday night when they've had extra time to prepare.
I wish it was a flat number, but I don't mind it at all. Let's still do that. And then
you pick one, man. I think I've picked a lot of these.
Do you think that the discount on Green Bay, since you're looking at the market at 8.5 and that game's at 7.5 in the contest,
sure,
it is on the road against Cleveland, but is that one worth the thought to you with the way that the Packers have come out the gates here against 2 what we think are good teams and covered that number?
That is not a game that I've been able to dig on the injury report yet. Are the 2 offensive linemen back? They're practicing? Okay. That's going to be, if that's the case, then I wouldn't say no. Because that's a damn good defense, but I think that's going to be something, because on the flip side, that Packers defense is going to be great.
By the end of the show, we will submit this. We have 4 yeses, 3 maybes for that final spot. So we will do that. Although when we come back, shifting gears to college football, we'll deep dive into my game and some of the marquee matchups of the weekend.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on Money Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158, YouTube TV, the VSiN Watch app, wherever you may be watching or listening, our many local affiliates across the country. We appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with us. Remember as well, if you miss any of the program any day, you can always download Money Moves wherever you get your podcast. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Stormy Buonantony. We're live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. We've been pretty NFL heavy, so time to get into some college football as week 4 approaches this weekend. The game that I will be at, JVT, is out there in Boulder, Colorado, Wyoming. Yeah. The Pokes headed out there to take on the Buffs, who really struggled, Colorado that is, this past Friday at Houston. It was a tough performance for them, kept it close, brought it within a couple points at halftime, but then Houston really pulled away. They've had questions at quarterback. We've seen all 3 guys to this point. Caden Salter, the Liberty transfer who started out the season, a little Juju Lewis, a little Ryan Staub starting last week. The reports, at least from CBS, are that it's going to be Caden Salter out there again. We'll have our meetings with Coach Prime on Friday.
You call him Coach Prime?
I don't know what he wants to be referred to. I've never done one of their games. Okay. So this will be a learning experience for me. I'll ask their SID Curtis, what does he like to be called before we get in there? We just stick to Coach.
Yeah, you know? that's a good one. Dion.
But I'm excited. Marshall Falk on that staff, so SDSU legend. Get out there. But the more and more I've been looking at this game, it's interesting. You know, you have a perception when you go into a game of, okay, Wyoming, a Mountain West team, they're not as good. They're a 13.5-point underdog. Buffs are at home. It's been a sellout for a long time, especially with these 2 states sharing a border, all that stuff. But watching the tape specifically last week of Wyoming against Utah and how tightly contested it was in the first half, it's a 3-point game for Utah. And then I think because Utah's so good, especially defensively, you just wear guys down that aren't as talented and aren't as big, right? And I think that's what kind of happened in the second half. So I wouldn't be surprised if Wyoming, at least at the first half of this game, stays with it. I was interested looking at the plus 7.5. You're getting more than a touchdown. You just need Wyoming's offense to help you out a little bit is the thing, right? They average just over 2 minutes per possession. That can't happen. And that's why I say, like, their defense was on the field and just getting worn down. There was one drive, in the third quarter where Utah was just going. It's a 19-play extended drive. It's hard to stay fresh when people are doing that to you on the other side, and you're just giving the ball up, can't convert third downs. So I think if Wyoming offensively can convert a couple third downs, which they should have the opportunities to against this Colorado defense, then why couldn't they stay with it? So I actually was very pleasantly surprised with the performance of Wyoming on defense. They seem really solid on defense. And offensively, they've got a couple pieces that if they can convert third downs, I think could be much better.
I have like a taste with Wyoming. I guess my argument against, or what I would ask you is when you were watching that game, because when I watched the Utah game, specifically in the first half, I had Utah minus 13 in the first half, didn't get anywhere near there. They scored 3 points, as you mentioned. They had 257 total yards. They had multiple red zone possessions. Yeah. They had a lost fumble, if I remember correctly. They had 2 missed field goals and then a made field goal as well.
One of the missed field goals was a block, though, so that was a good special teams play from Wyoming.
So my whole premise, my whole thought was, and again, for the game, had 541 total yards and just completely was moving the ball. The results just weren't there. Was Wyoming just quietly, actually in the first half, getting its ass kicked? It was just being benefited by mistakes on the Utah end, especially in that first half, and that if they were to play that again, there's more than likely that Utah's fine and pay dirt and is up by quite a bit by the time that first half ends, and that fight is not there.
I think it depends on how many of those mistakes, with the exception of the one missed field goal, is induced by the defense versus their own self-inflicted wounds. So in my opinion, I think that Wyoming played better in the first half than those numbers would suggest.
I mean, and to your point, which is why they would, if you actually look at some of the metrics, Wyoming defensively, some spots have them at 10th best in the country in opponent EPA per dropback. Like, they've been pretty good. Now, they haven't really played when Zachrin's in there, but Utah's in there as well in the game that I'm talking about, which they had 541 total yards. Points per quality drive allowed. They're a top 50 team in the country. Early downs, expected points added by opponents. They're right on the fringes of a top 50 team. They haven't been good on third and fourth down, but there's at least some bright spots for Wyoming defensively that you can point to against a Colorado team that offensively overall just has not really been good. 97th in the country by expected points added, and a bunch of different metrics haven't been in that range.
And that's kind of where I was going next. And again, I feel comfortable having this conversation out loud with you right now because I haven't spoken to the coaches yet. We'll talk with Wyoming later today. And then again, we'll be at Colorado tomorrow having those in-person meetings. But for Colorado specifically, at least just from the eye test in my brain, the offense that Pat Shurmur wants to run for Colorado is more pro style. And if Caden Salter is the guy that goes back in, he seems to have struggled with that type of a game plan. So I don't know how well he's been eased in. If it is him, maybe that's advantage Wyoming as well. Yeah. So there's a lot of layers to this. Again, this is just kind of me talking out loud before I have my official meetings with them, and maybe also wishful thinking to an extent that I hope I have a close game for a while. But for a spread that is 13.5 and 7.5, where you're getting over that key number for the first half, we'll see.
Best story, narrative thing that you're interested in asking?
I talked to a couple players this week from Wyoming, and there was these deep stories are always tough, right. But Caden Anderson, the quarterback for Wyoming, his father passed away in 2020 with brain cancer, and he was just talking about how much that's changed his philosophy on life. And he's like, I know a lot of people this week, even for example, with Colorado, want to talk about the stress of a game like this and the environment and the competition and being the underdog and all of that. He's like, I have a very different philosophy on life from what happened to me at a very young age. He's like, I'm less excited about the environment, more excited that my mom's coming to every game this year and she's going to be there. And so that kind of stuff pulls on your heartstrings, and he seems like a really good kid that's been through a lot. Cool. That same year his dad passed away, he tore his ACL. He had a lot going on with him. He was in a very dark place, but he's come out of it in a positive way. Also went to the same high school as Quinn Ewers. Had to follow him. Greg McElroy, Chase Daniel, a couple greats that have come out of that high school in Texas.
I had no idea.
Fun facts for you. Okay, the big game, or not the big game, but one of the big games this weekend, I would say, is Auburn, Oklahoma coming up.
You make a case it's a big game. I think this desk believes Texas Tech, Utah is more important, but this one's pretty good.
Well, and we've gone deep on the Texas Tech, Utah, so I feel like we need to give Auburn, Oklahoma the due, and we're seeing more and more sevens pop now with people backing Oklahoma, and I ultimately do feel like this is the right side. Total 46.5, 47.5, depending on where you look. How do you feel?
I would agree with the thought of at least like pushing this to 7. I feel like it's pretty well priced, even at 6.5. Like I don't think I'm jumping in at 6.5 either. But I think we're right where we should be. If Auburn comes out and scores early, maybe he gets up the cheap on Oklahoma. But there's a couple of things here. Keontae Lewis, wide receiver for Oklahoma, injured. The hope is that he'll be active and available. But then you have a couple of injuries along the defensive line that look pretty good. Mason Thomas looks like he is going to be targeted, or to be suspended for the first half for targeting, but obviously he'll be out there for the second half. And Danny Okoye will be back. It's a highly touted redshirt. I think it's a redshirt freshman edge player for Oklahoma. It's generally good for Oklahoma across the board. So the way I was looking at this and the way I kind of broke it down, if you want to look at Auburn's offense versus Oklahoma's defense, you could argue it's kind of a wash. When you're looking at Auburn, they're actually top in the country in terms of EPA per rush. They've been very, very solid. It looks pretty good. But if you flip it and you go, all right, Auburn defensively versus Oklahoma's offense, that's where I think you get a little bit of the mismatch. Auburn's 36th in EPA per dropback in the country. This is an OU team that's 13th in that category on offense. They're 77th in quality drive rate allowed. This is the 26th best offense in the country. Auburn 40th in third and fourth down success rate. This is a top 20 team on offense in the country for Oklahoma. That's where I think ultimately you could find the difference in a matchup like this.
And again, we mentioned the market moving in that direction. At DraftKings Sportsbook, 76% of the bets, at circa 93% of the handle is ultimately backing Oklahoma here. And at DraftKings, honestly, those numbers are pretty similar. 92% of the handle is on Oklahoma. So all of that early money. And granted, we're going to see a lot of money that comes in on game day, as we always do on a Saturday, but that's where things are sitting heavily right now. Last 90 seconds, Texas Tech, Utah. I did end up making a play on this game, and we'll do best bets at the end of the hour. Not on the side, though.
Okay.
What do you think about a first half under in this game?
I think you're going to tell me.
Well, I'm just curious your opinion on it. It's 29.5. Mm-hmm. High total here for a half that I could see these two defenses actually standing pretty tall. And in a game that's so early in the morning, it's a 10 a.m. local Mountain Time kickoff. Could it be a little sleepy and slow starting and a little bit of a figure-out game? Because neither one of these teams has really faced an opponent of this caliber. Could be a little bit of a game of cat and mouse early.
Yeah, I think it could. I think the biggest thing for me and how this, and I think it impacts how you think it's going to be played, is Texas Tech's pressure numbers, their edge rushers have been really, really good through the first few weeks of the season. But this is the best offensive line that they have faced. And if Devin Dampier is going to be able to drop back with relative ease and not be dusted up, be able to run his offense, I think you kind of get burned there. But we'll see if that's actually going to be able to be impacted. This offensive line play is going to be huge.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's kind of like the best of both going head to head. So what does it look like ultimately come game day? We'll see. We talked about those betting splits. Reminder, vsin.com/subscribe. You get access to all of that data each and every day. You can join us for as little as $9.99 your first month or get that annual plan. Come hang with us for the whole year. We'll be right back on Money Moves.